Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about the Sun square or opposition Chiron in a natal chart. Now, some of you may remember when I first started my YouTube astrology channel, I did a series on the aspects in a natal chart. They're a little bit concise. Some people may have referred to them as snappy, so what I decided to do is make another series on them in which the videos would be a little bit longer and more descriptive. So anyway, first thing up is, if you have the Sun square or opposite Chiron in a natal chart, one way it may manifest could be having difficulty focusing, which is the Sun on helping and healing others, which is Chiron. If Chiron, say, is in Aquarius as an example, helping and healing others may be done through altruism, selflessness, humanitarian efforts, and maybe something connected with the environment, or maybe doing something through social media, the internet, computer related work, something it may be through astrology or electronics somehow, as some examples, and or maybe even helping others, just simply integrating with society. And this could be another way these aspects may be expressed in the natal chart. It could be where the person may have trouble shining the light, so to speak, which is the sun, on those those healing abilities. Let's say if the Chiron is in Virgo, as an example. Those healing abilities may be tied in with health, diet, fitness, ability to, organize. It could be analyze, diagnose, issues, whether it be a vehicle or just their own life in general. And also to, as some examples, but now also to issues with depleted self-esteem, which is Chiron, may have more like an adverse effect on one's ego, which is the sun, more so than most people. If Chiron is in Taurus, as an example, the issues with depleted, self-esteem may be tied in, could be issues, monetary matters, or matters with, that are connected with persistence, perseverance, patience, as some examples. And the thing about, this too, I mean, let's say, Chiron is in Aries. Depleted self-esteem may be tied in simply with identity issues or ability, to combat certain things, or to stand up for oneself, or issues with maybe not being aggressive or assertive enough, as some examples. And another way these aspects may be expressed in a natal chart is that the biological father, dominant males, and even children, which is the sun, may not, be, overly helpful in terms of dealing with emotional wounds and suffering, which is Chiron. If you have, let's say, if Chiron is in Capricorn, say, as an example, there may be, certain emotional wounds and suffering that the person may be dealing with, may be tied in with one's social status, the stature in life, one's career, attaining ambitions, just being successful. In general, it may have been matters tied in with one's public image and reputation as well. Now, another way, as far as how these aspects may pan out in a natal chart, whether it's the sun square or opposite Chiron, it could also be, there may be more trouble and difficulty putting the attention and focus, which is the sun, could be on physical related suffering. And the thing about this is, let's say, that Chiron is in Libra, as an example, physical related suffering, and might be tied in, with the lower back, the kidneys, the endocrine system. Um, it could also be, let's say if Chiron, another example, if Chiron is in Scorpio, the physical related suffering may be connected with the colon, the prostate, bladder, urinary tract, or reproductive system, as some other examples. Now, also that if you have the Sun square or opposite Chiron in your natal chart, it may be an arduous task just healing, those issues. Healing, Chiron is about healing any issues with the physical body. If the Sun is in Sagittarius, as an example, and the Sun has a connection with the physical body, Sun being in Sag, as an example, could be, physical related issues, connected with the liver, the thighs, the hips, sciatic nerve, as some examples. If the Sun, say, is in Leo, there may be issues with the physical body connected with the heart, the spine, or the upper back. Now, another thing about these aspects in a natal chart, it could also manifest in having, that difficulty finding the key, so to speak, which is Chiron, to deal, with anguish and suffering, which is Chiron. Now, or just dealing, in general, or finding that, I should say, finding that key, which is Chiron, and in doing so with that drive and motivation with the Sun, it may be difficulty finding the drive and motivation, to find that key, basically, which is Chiron, to deal with that Chiron, anguish and suffering. And if you have, say your Chiron in Gemini, it may have something to do, at least perceived, cerebral ability that may be diminished, or maybe you feel there's some kind of lack of intellectual ability, or ability, writing issues, communicating or writing. Maybe there was some anguish and suffering connected with gossip, or even something like plagiarism in some remote cases, and it may be difficulty finding the key to deal with it and having that drive and motivation, which is the Sun, in doing so. Now, another way these aspects may manifest in the natal chart could also be, there may be harder to express, the basic fundamental, or I should say past emotional wounds and suffering, which is Chiron, may make it more difficult in terms of expressing your basic fundamental character, which is the Sun. If the Sun is in the zodiac sign Cancer, as an example, that could be, that basic, fundamental character may be one, that is, nurturing, caring, sensitive, emotional, dedicated, devoted, tenacious, protective, and introverted, as some examples. And I have actually this aspect, and my Sun is in the zodiac sign Cancer, so I may be able to, resonate and relate with this. I have Chiron and Aries square my Sun in Cancer. But anyway, another way these aspects may be expressed in a natal chart, if you have the Sun square or opposite Chiron in your natal chart, it could be, where you may be more sensitive in terms of derogatory or derisive remarks, about the true self, the identity, which is the Sun, more so, than, most people. And, let's say, if your Sun is in Gemini, it may be connected with, lack of persistence, or being mercurial, overly changeable. It's like dissipating the self through lack of an integrating or unifying purpose, spreading oneself too thin. As some examples, if the Sun is in Pisces, maybe there's some kind of escapist tendencies, lack of, basically, being overly passive, as some examples. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.